From the moment Captain America punched Adolf Hitler in 1941, down to the questions of identity raised in the most recent X-Men comics, superhero comics have been inherently political, even when they aren't overtly so. In fact, the very existence of superheroes is itself a political statement. You can't write stories about people who dress up in fancy costumes and fight crime outside the sanction of the state without raising questions of politics. And with some exceptions, superhero comics seem to inherently lean a certain direction when it comes to questions of power and individualism. Though early on, heroes were often supported and sanctioned by government officials, they began to frequently run afoul of the government as comics matured. After all, their use of force in order to achieve justice and safety is a direct challenge to the power of the state. This week, I have the honor of reviewing the book Titans: How Superheroes Can Help Us Make Sense of a Polarized World. I was recently given this excellent book, and I highly recommend purchasing a copy of it for yourself. I'll include a link at the bottom of the essay for this post in case you're interested. I always love getting recommendations like this, or even copies of books, and I'll be happy to review them at your request. So in this video, I'll give you a quick summary of Titans, and I'll point out a few of the arguments that I think are best. Then I'll conclude with some thoughts and challenges of my own regarding the book's thesis. To begin with, the main argument of this book is that superheroes, and by this the authors primarily mean Marvel and DC characters, have a lot to teach us about modern American politics. The idea is that today superheroes function the way classical Greek gods did for the ancient world. They bring morals, ethics, and big philosophical and political questions to life through sensational myth. Heroes like Captain America make us reflect on what our country truly stands for. Batman makes us think about public safety and how best to provide it. And the X-Men make us think about racism and bigotry and how we can overcome it. According to the authors of Titans, superhero stories are essentially thought experiments where we can see how these ethical questions play out. The hope is that we will learn lessons from superhero stories and apply them to our own lives to be better people. I personally really enjoyed this book, and it helped me see some additional value in Marvel and DC movies beyond just big explosions and surface-level entertainment. If people approach these films with the kind of mindset articulated in Titans, then I think you'd have a productive conversation and the kind of ethical growth that the authors want to see. The problem for me is that I think a lot of people don't really consider superhero movies from an ethical standpoint, and I'm not even sure that the comics and films are built that way. More often, people are just looking to be entertained. In perhaps a follow-on work or a set of blog posts, I would love to see the authors of Titans tackle this problem. Because when we talk about civility and temperance and respecting our fellow Americans, things that are in short supply in our current polarized climate, are superhero films really helping us in this regard? After all, we're talking about action films in which violence is not only key, but at the center of the film. There are certain ethical questions that come up, but then there are also long segments where it's just pure chaos. And when we talk about ethics, in most of the films, good versus evil are fairly static concepts, and the end is never in doubt. The real world is of course very different and not that simple. Our enemies are typically not made of pure evil. We don't have cosmic supernatural abilities to overcome them, and being violent doesn't always turn out so well. If superhero films are just shallow entertainment, then perhaps it's not an issue. But if they are in fact ethical laboratories and thought experiments for us, then what lessons are we truly getting from them? Is it the lessons the authors of Titans are citing, or is it something more shallow and simplistic? Are we better prepared for civic debate and responsible conduct after watching, say, Robert Downey Jr. beat up a bunch of aliens and robots for 2 hours? So what do you think? Are there important lessons you've picked up from superhero films, and do you see them as improving the civic debate? Or do you see them as simply entertainment and not affecting it one way or the other? Or, even worse, do you see them as degrading civic conversations and keeping people trapped on a more juvenile and simplistic level? Tell me below in the comments, and let us know what you would like us to review next. Thanks for checking out the video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next week here on the Burkean Conservative.